Musical Entertainment, I'm Rachel Smith. Well, it was Taylor Swift's night at this year's MTV Video Music Awards. The show got off to a huge start with NSYNC reuniting to present Taylor Swift with Best Pop Video Award. She took home 9 of the 11 awards she was nominated for. Sean Diddy Combs received the Global Icon Award alongside his son and 2 daughters. And Shakira took home the MTV Video Vanguard Award and gave the audience a performance of her biggest hits. The VMAs also celebrated 50 years of hip-hop with performances from artists like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Slick Rick, and LL Cool J. French Montana took to the stage to bring awareness to the earthquakes in Morocco. Drew Barrymore has been dropped as host of the National Book Foundation's Literacy Awards. Barrymore is being replaced because of her decision to resume production on her daytime talk show during the ongoing writers' strike. The National Book Foundation says its award ceremony is dedicated to, quote, the incomparable contributions of writers to our culture. The Writers Guild of America has been picketing Barrymore's show since it returned to production earlier this week. Daytime talk shows are governed by a different contract that was ratified last year, but Barrymore's show employs at least 3 WGA writers. A new online series from GLAAD is exploring Latin identity, politics, and representation. It's called Dímelo, and it arrives just in time for Latin Heritage Month. It stars Joel Perez, River Ramirez, Mika Kenya, and Veronica Garza. Gabe Gonzalez is the host. Episodes will be dropping weekly to discuss topics that celebrate the LGBTQ+ Latin community and the issues they face. But the series promises to have plenty of laughs with this very funny group of comedians. The first episode premieres on September 19th. The Supreme Court has had a complicated history, and involvement in political chess games have become more relevant in American life. Legitimacy concerns are growing and now being explored in a new Showtime series called Deadlocked: How America Shaped the Supreme Court. Our Advocate Channel's Tracy E. Gilchrist has more with director Don Porter.
Thank you for this incredibly pedagogical but entertaining docuseries. And since you're an attorney, I wonder, would you share your earliest kind of awareness of the Supreme Court and its role in shaping social justice and or personal freedom?
I think clearly Thurgood Marshall is such a big influence. You grow up learning about lawyer and then judge and then Justice Marshall and his influence on civil rights. And, when I was in law school, I went to Georgetown, so I lived on Capitol Hill, and I would walk across the front steps of the Supreme Court on my way to school every day. And really, I really was awed in the appropriate way about the majesty and the power of the court and about what it said about our democracy. So I feel like the court has, kind of always been there in the background for me, is this bulwark against authoritarianism. And so, I kind of always had that appreciation.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And the docuseries is shaped really well around these landmark social justice cases and cases around personal freedom, also with groundbreaking appointments to the court, including Thurgood Marshall and Sandra Day O'Connor and so on. And I wonder, would you talk a little bit about as an attorney, I'm sure you really are pretty well versed, but just diving further into Brown v. Board of Education, Loving, Lawrence v. Texas, Obergefell, Roe, and then, most recently the Dobbs decision. What was that like for you to kind of look at it from this big picture?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because, in a long form storytelling documentary series, you have the opportunity to ground people and give people a sense of the sweep and the arc of the story and the arc of the history. And because Showtime gave us 4 hours to do that, we were able to, I was initially thinking, if you focus on this Supreme Court and you're not a Supreme Court reporter, or, someone like that, what you think of often are these landmark civil rights cases, in particular, about Brown v. Board, about Miranda, giving you your Miranda warnings, about Gideon v. Wainwright. You have the right to an attorney. That's such a part of the fabric of our democracy, of our conversation around democracy. So I thought, why don't we start there with what people are familiar with, and then move forward in time to say, like, how did we go from the court that gave us Brown v. Board of Education and pushed us that much further into a more racially equitable nation? How did we go from that to overturning affirmative action? What is that journey? And so I wanted to be able to spend some time on those initial decisions and a little bit of the mechanics. What's harder to do in a long form series is breaking news, And so I really hope that as people are digesting the news of the day, all of the ethics scandals, for example, many of which were revealed after we kind of wrapped. But as people are thinking about those scandals, I hope that this series helps us explain, how did we get to this place today where these scandals could just now be being revealed? So I want people to have that grounding and understanding of the court as they consume the news of the day.
Yeah, wonderful. I think the series does an incredible job of that. I mean, I felt like I learned so much about the Warren Court and LBJ, who I was kind of not aware was as progressive as he was for a while. And then how those relationships between the president and often the Chief Justice are really shaping our lives. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I think when people say the court's not political, or the court's not supposed to be political, of course the court's political. The justices are appointed by the president. The president is the person in power. There's a whole party structure that comes with that. That doesn't mean the justices can't have integrity, that they can't follow the law, but the way that the justices take the bench is embedded in our political system. And so we have to understand and reconcile with that. But it means it's even more important that the justices abide by some sort of ethical code that is more, that is, and so to have the Supreme Court as the only judicial body that has no code of ethics,
Right.
It's kind of astounding. That's where we
is called Deadlocked, How America Shaped the Supreme Court. And there's a big kind of focus in this, as there should be, on the role of evangelicals in shaping the president and then by extension the Supreme Court.
1970s, many of them didn't vote. They were taught that voting was kind of anti-religious, it was secular, politics was immoral, and so it wasn't the moral thing to do to vote. And it's really when Jerry Falwell capitalizes on this opportunity to make abortion a religious issue for evangelicals as much as it is for Catholics. And when those groups align, that really shifts a lot of influence into this evangelical movement. And that movement then goes on to be incredibly influential in influencing the selections of the court. So there's so many interesting details when you look at it, and some of our legal experts and reporter experts point them out. Early on, you don't get the justices being asked about abortion. Now it's the lightning rod litmus test for people.
Deadlocked, How America Shaped the Supreme Court premieres September 22nd. You can see it on Showtime. Well, you can watch The Advocate live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. For The Advocate channel today, I'm Rachel Smith. Take care.